overview of the planning job that we have in API Pro can be found in the work order accumulation. The work order accumulation we find in maintenance, work order accumulation. When we start the program, we will first put in the filter. In here we can put in the position or part of the tree in it, maintenance object, maybe by the work supplier, instruction key, and so on. We can also add a planned date or an offset of it. We have other options as well, as we can see here. Normally when we look at the work order accumulation, we would only look at the job type AR 1, 2, 4, 5 and not AR 3 and 6. As default, we also only look at not started jobs. Included started jobs is disabled as default. So when I go in here, in this example, I will select a work supplier. So I click on the tree structure. I select here the work supply group that I have. I can see I have external below it, internal and planned groups. In this case, I want to see all jobs that I have. I select the crew. Since I want to see everything that is below, I select here the tree structure. This means that all the work orders that I would look at now must have a work supplier below the crew. So I select OK. And then I get a result. We have a lot of work orders. Normally we also enter the start date. If not, we will also see all the jobs that is planned into the future, which we do not want to see at this moment. So if I go back in my filter here, I put in a planned date offset. In this case here, I want to see what has happened 10 days before and 3 days into the future. And I select OK. My list is now shorter, as we can see here. If I go back into the filter, when I add my information to it, if I want this filter to be the one that I normally use, I can also save it. In this case, I can select Save. I saved my filter here by giving it a name. In this case, I call it Default. I save it. Now I can load this default filter anytime I want. I can also go in and make sure that this default filter is running every time I start up my accumulation. This is a personal one. So I right click on my filter and I select Set as Default. Now my filter here is default. Now I can close the window and I can also close my filter. So if I leave the window and go back into it, it will now start up the program and run the filter default for me. Since I set in the filter the planned date offset to -10 and 3, it will always be -10 and 3 depending of today. So tomorrow it will still be -10 and 3, but the result will of course be different. Every time I make a filter in here, it's possible to save it and then I can load it again. Every time you do that, it's a personal filter. When I look at the window itself, I have a lot of options now. First of all, we can see we have a lot of columns. The first column is also the sorting, in progress, not in progress. Then we'll have planned. In this case, as we can see, we do have one down here. This is overdue. And this is the sign for the overdue. The next column here is the planning window. The planning window in this case here is enabled, and yellow shows us here that we are inside the interval. That means between the start date and the end date. Then we have column as we know it: work orders, status, priority, date, and so on. There is of course a lot of information we can use. Again, as the ordinary browser, we can select a column and move around it. To do it, I do not need to go into the file and open the design. I can just simply select the column and move it. When I find the location I want it to be, I let go of the mouse. I can also decide the size of it. When I'm finished, I will save the design. Select File and Save Design. Remember, saving design is personal. So when you do this, it's only for you. I can select the sorting order simply by clicking on the columns. Normally we use this window to find the work order that we want to start. So in this case here, we will normally select the filters that we have, and we get the result. Then I select the job that I want to start simply by clicking on it. I can also multi-select by pressing down the control button. Then I can select multi-select. If I use Shift, it goes from the first one to the last one. At the lower end here in the window, we have all the buttons. The buttons here will react on the one that we have selected. So in this case, if I press Start the WO, I will start the job, but only the selected jobs. All the other jobs in the window will not be started. When I print out the job from here, I will not see a preview. It will simply just start up the job and print them out. The window itself, as we can see, we have a refresh button. It will not be automatically updated. Then we can stop the job. We can make a registration. Of course, we can only make registration to job that has already been started. Then we have possibility to delay. When I select delay, I have two options. I can use it by fixed date, or I can put a number of dates. If I delay a job, I simply just change the start date. When I do this, I need also to consider if I want to change the original start date on it, and also maybe if I want to change the planning window. Normally, you don't do that. If I select one job order here, I can also go in and have a look at it. In this case, look at the status on it. I can also go in and look at the resources that I have, accumulated resources. Work supplier, spare part on stock, and other services. In this case, we have a mechanical attached to it with 1.3 hours. We can also go directly in and look at the work supplier. We can go in for the production plan if it is enabled. Check availability. We can also set the job itself to technical finish, and we can finish the job. The work order description here will be enabled if there is a description on the work order itself. Beside these options here, we also have some options up here in the menu. Here we have a few that is not as a button. The reason here is that these are multiple choice. So here we have the delay as well. We can go in and change the interval, work supplier, and change other functions. So for example, if I select more than one work order here and select change interval, then I can change the counter interval on it, on the job, or change the time interval. This will be for all the selected jobs that I have. The consequence, of course, is big. I can also go up here and change the work supplier on all the selected jobs that I have. This is very useful, of course, if we have a work supplier here that's sick or maybe doesn't work at the company anymore. And the last one, change selected records. Here we have things we can change. The project key, account key, cost purpose, responsible, job code, and job status. If we select a job here and print it out, it will normally be printed out at one page at the time. We can also print out a lot of jobs on one piece of paper. That we call symbol. In this case, I will select the number of jobs that I want to start and select print. When I select my print, I have 4 options. Job card start selected, that will be equal to start the job order down here. Job card without starting the selected, that means we just print out the job itself but do not start the job. We can put in the new one here, a symbol list. If I select symbol list and select OK, we print out the list here. We don't have all the information about the job. So if I want to print out the job card, I simply select the job card that I want. If it's a list, I select how many, select start a work order, start all the jobs selected, yes. Print out the job card, yes. Any other information, in this case we could have print out or document attached, for example to the work order itself, position, maintenance object, or work instruction, or maybe the machine card. I select OK. Preview is going to be there for a very short time, and now we can see the job is gone. It's no longer in the list, simply because it does not no longer fulfill our filter, simply because now it's started. If I want to find my job again, I could simply go up here, select my filter, and add include job started. Select OK. The filler. Now we can also see that the first column in progress, all the jobs that is green, they are started. The one with the red mark, they're not started yet.